anyone who has their camera turned on, I need to let you know that this session is being recorded. It will be published publicly on YouTube and may be included in other digital and print media by the Regional English Language Office, U.S. Embassy Lima, and the U.S. Department of State in order to promote exchange programs and public diplomacy efforts. If you do not want to appear in recording, please turn off your camera. You can still ask and answer questions in the chat, which is not being captured in the video. Okay. So right now that is for Daniel and Judith, but I invite everybody to actually join. I cheated because I didn't actually give you the handouts. So because I want this to be a little bit interactive, and the answers are actually in my presentation. So if I give you the handouts, you have the answers. So Dinah is there. Dinah, Dinah is the moderator.
Hi, Daniel.
Hi,
Judith.
I already read the disclaimer. So Dinah, you have to do something.
Yes.
Something very simple.
Okay.
Just introduce me.
All right, I'm sorry. My internet went berserk. So here we go. I'm going to introduce you to Jota. He's the best boss in the world. He's very active. He's the maximum. All right, so Jota is the CEO and co-founder of Change, a company that is changing language education in Peru. He has been in charge of innovation teams, and thanks to his work, he was selected as a 2017 Fellow of the Young Leaders of the Americas Initiative, a program sponsored by the Department of State of the US, 2017. He leads the team of teachers and trainers at Change, and they specialize on designing tailor-made English programs and innovate in teaching methodologies. So, without further ado, with you, Jota. Jota, can you hear?
Lapsus nervous. I'm nervous. Okay.
Okay.
So the slides have my official name, which is Jose Carlos, but even my son and daughter forget that I'm Jose Carlos. So so it's important, but that's it. I'm going to share the slides when we finish the presentation or in the middle. So because as I mentioned before, there are some questions I want to ask, and the answers are there. So it would be cheating. Now, so let's start super simple. That's just Dinah.
Jota, just one thing. Do you want me to let you know at a certain time, 10 minutes left or something, or you'll take care of that?
No, you tell me, because I get excited and then I can talk until 7 at night.
Okay. So when do you want me to tell you?
Like
How many
10 minutes
left? 10 minutes left.
10.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So let's start because you came this for. Oh, I jumped. I'm done. Okay. So I think I deleted a lot of slides, but anyway, I don't know. This is very small, but I'm going to explain you. I don't like using a lot of text, but as the title says, I don't know if you actually know something about Agile. Agile comes from software design. Okay, I'm a software engineer, so that's why I got that from there. Okay, and we actually adapted that. It's not a methodology, it's a framework, and we use that framework on education. Okay, maybe the closest thing that you have that is like people applying design thinking to education. Okay, maybe you have heard of design thinking, but the problem with design thinking is a methodology based on Agile principles that focuses on designing a product. And in education, it's not necessary unless you're working with certain methodologies and you combine. So that's why we went a little bit down and we talk about Agile. And Agile basically give you 4 values, okay? And this is what we do to design all of our classes. I'm going to start with a traditional class, face-to-face, forget about the pandemic and everything, and it works really well, okay? So individuals and interactions over processes and tools. So when you design a course, when you plan your class, first you think of your students. It doesn't mean that the process and the tool, they are, but your students and how you interact with your students is more important, okay? It's way more important. Now that taking it to an online setting is how do you want to interact with your students? How much interaction? What are you going to prioritize? Can you like video calls? It's not possible. Are you going to use audio calls? Jeff Kuhn was talking about that. So you have to, instead of saying, this is the perfect tool, like the best tool, like I love this tool, my IT department recommended it, then think of your students first. Okay. Then we give more importance. So feedback over grades. Now, if there is a coordinator here, it's going to kill me. But and this is very, very important because we focus on meaningful learning activities rather than just giving an A, B, or a 1, 2, 20, depending on how you score your exams. Standardized tests are not a thing in our program, but we know that it's important to take international tests so we can find a balance. But if you actually focus on feedback and giving learning activities like that, when they have to take an international exam, it's going to be very simple because they already acquire the skills, abilities, and knowledge. Okay, so a number or a letter is not that important. Now, in online learning, teachers are stressing about the assessment because they are thinking about the exams that normally schools ask for, like the standardized test. So if you give them a test, then you start asking yourself, are they actually doing it? Are they cheating? Or is somebody else doing it for them? Now, there are things that you can do to block that. One tip that you can Google that is a lockdown browser that basically you use something to take exams. I'm going to give you a link for that. But we prefer to focus on other kind of activities and work with rubrics. Okay, so we can assess them in something more productive, more active, and we do it in a process. Collaboration over complex negotiation, especially in online learning, you cannot design a program based on what you know only. It's good, you have to know, the tools, it's your expertise, but you also have to consider when you're teaching, you obviously, your experience, your students, and in most cases, also the parents. And obviously the school or language center that you are working in is a factor. And why do I mention the parents? Because I am a parent. My wife and I have 2 kids, and my older kid has classes, online classes, but I have to work. My wife has to work too. So it's something that you have to consider in designing these online classes that we have. Okay, so it's a collaboration. It's not like we do it this way and you have to adapt. It is not going to work. Not for the students, not for the parents, and not for you. And probably you're going to end up being up late until 1 in the morning and waking up at 5. Now, if you follow other steps, then you're going to have more free time. And responding to change over following a plan, Jeff mentioned that yesterday. It's good to plan, but you have to be very flexible. So flexibility is very important. And in online teaching, it comes with knowing different, do you have a plan A, B, and C? And normally it comes with technology too. Okay, so we're going to talk about some useful websites or pieces of software that can help. But mainly I want to guide you in a step-by-step process, and then we will see if we can actually design a course in 40 minutes. Okay, so okay, now if we talk about Agile, this is what we want. We want lifelong learners. We want to develop not only grammar, vocabulary, speaking, all those kind of things. We want to develop soft skills, okay? And we need to bring context to the class. So one by one, lifelong learners. One of the biggest problems of online learning is that the students don't do their job, right? Like, how many of you have had that problem? You give something to do, okay, you have 1 week to do this, and then they are not completing, or they have to read something before the class. So it's very common, right? Okay, so it takes some time, and what you do with this framework is to create autonomous learners. And if you have an autonomous learner, online teaching is fantastic. Okay, now it's true that online teaching and online learning is not for everybody, but right now it's like we don't have an option. But if you actually motivate them and create a learning environment that is motivates them autonomous, then it's going to be easier for you. So instead of just focusing on tasks, we have to figure on creating an environment. That's why we include soft skills. What are soft skills? Who can tell me what soft skills are? Yeah, okay, Daniel.
So I think things like patience, flexibility, showing empathy, skills that we use when we're working with people that aren't necessarily taught in a classroom.
Yeah, exactly. So even problem solving, how to interact, and we include that in our assessment. Okay, because our assessment is matched with a real goal. And actually, when I can give you an example. For example, you go to a business meeting and like this, you go to Revolution and you want to exchange information with other people. What do you have to do? No, how to give personal information. That is the vocabulary. No, your occupation, ask questions. Just no question. But that is language. What about the soft skills? So if you don't teach those soft skills, then how is your student going to be successful? He knows the grammar, the vocabulary, but not the rest. So you have to include that. And there are some students that are really good at that, and they don't get the benefit of being good at that. And that's why they start getting a little bit demotivated. Is that a word? Yeah. Okay. And then we bring context. Just so I know most teachers don't do this, but even if you don't do this, the students get this message. I get into your class and I say, okay, today we're going to learn simple past. Okay, simple past is nothing to them. Like, okay, I'm going to, and now if you have a business student and you tell them, okay, this unit is going to be about learning how to give reports to your boss. It's going to use simple past because what happened during the month and all that. If it is a teenager, okay, this month we are going to record, you're going to become a YouTuber and you're going to start describing what you played yesterday on your video games or something like that. So it's something that they give a context, and we do that also with kids, little kids of 3 or 4 years old. Instead of doing something that is, we use a lot of repetition, but it's something that is evaluating them in a standardized way. We tell them, okay, we're going to play something. What about learning to play hide and seek, but in English? Do kids play hide and seek? Of course, but now they have to do it in English, and they know that that if they start using the language, they can play more. Now, hide and seek in online learning, it's possible. It's fun, but it's possible. Okay, it's a little bit tricky, but it's possible. So that is what we do. We have programs for adults, kids, and all that, and we bring this concept to all of our programs. Okay, so remember, we are talking about these values. This is something that we include in the class all the time. So right now, I'm not giving you a methodology, but only values and principles. So it's a framework, and it depends on your students. It would depend on your students, and this is Agile. Okay, this is something that looks like, well, it's actually from software. Okay, you have some concepts that are, Scrum is a methodology of Agile. You have a product backlog, you have a sprint, a daily meeting. So if we talk about teaching, the product owner and the Scrum Master, maybe the Scrum Master is a coordinator, you are the product owner is the teacher. Product backlog is the objective. What do you want your students to be able to do at the end of your course, or maybe your unit, your semester, I don't know how you organize your class. The sprint is a learning unit. Okay, it could be a unit from a course book, it could be a unit that you describe. Normally a sprint, and we call them sprints because they last 2, maximum 3 weeks. So they have to have objectives like that. And that is what happens with Agile. Instead of thinking of, okay, after four weeks or after 8 weeks, they have to get to somewhere. We break it down and put it in 2 or 3 weeks, so we can measure more times, and not only at the end of those 3 weeks, because this daily meeting basically is your class, and every class is assessed with formative assessment. So it's very interesting how software integrates this methodology of software integrates a lot of concepts from. Okay, so this is at the end. Okay, no more. They are saying hello, everybody. So this is in general. Okay, this is where it came from. You don't need to memorize this. It's just to give you context. Okay, and this is what we get. Okay, who exercises every day? I do. Nobody else? Nobody else? Okay. Who exercises twice a month? Okay. How many of you have paid for the to go to the gym, like the annual fee, and just gone twice? Okay. So that happens in online learning. Even students that pay for a service, they don't show up. And this is mainly because they are not motivated enough, or they lose interest, or it gets too difficult, or something in the middle of those things. So what you want to do is to create this environment. One thing is the agile principles that we mentioned, okay? And the other thing that we include and we have integrated with agile, that is that is what we actually design. We included gameful design. Now, a lot of people know gameful design with the name of gamification. We don't like that term, honestly, for many reasons. Okay. So I don't know. There's a problem in the conference, so I will forget that. Gamification is why don't we use gamification? The term gamification, because people are confused about that. Okay, normally they think of gamification and they think about the points, they think about the badges, they think about the leaderboard, they think about all those. They think about Class Dojo, which is a good example of gamification if you use it well, but it's not only about the points. So that's why we use the term gameful design. In gameful design, what you want to do is to replicate all the benefits of a video game environment in your class. And they come with three things. What you need to give students first is choice. That's why you have the compass there on a smartphone, because we are in the digital world. So it's not in one line. So it's not like everybody has to do the same activities, because that would be teacher pays. In online learning, then the beautiful thing about online learning is that you can have actually people doing things, skipping some things, but still being successful. And you have to be able to do that, okay? But you have to be very careful too. The second one is challenge. And challenge means that it has to be not too difficult, not too easy. At the beginning of the pandemic, because it was super fast, teachers started just because it was a reaction and you have to continue teaching. And what happened is like a lot of homework. And I saw that a lot in universities. Students of universities are super stressed. So they have more homework than when they went to university in like face-to-face classes. And that is actually frustrating. It's over, or maybe it's not that difficult, but it's too much. So that in that sense, they drop out. And on the other hand, some teachers found a way of just giving some worksheets and then having the class, but it became too easy. So it's good to have a routine, but it was way too simple. You have to complicate their lives a little bit more in order for them to make mistakes. The key there is that they make mistakes. If they don't make mistakes, they don't learn, okay? And the last that is super important and is very difficult is you have to include something that builds a relation. Your students need to socialize in your class. If you have one-to-one classes, which we do, okay, it's building that relationship, getting to know your students, so if you want to come to class. If it is a group, it's not only getting to know the teacher, but their classmates. And you can include activities to share that in your in your video calls, in group discussions, or chats, or anything that you want, but there has to be time for that, okay? Now, we go back to this. And the reason we have that is this. Why do we have Agile? So imagine I ask for a bicycle. Somebody's going to build a bicycle for me. And in the end, they give me this. That is a scooter, a motorized scooter. And you may say, oh, but it's better. So maybe it's better for you, or maybe it's better for the manufacturer. But it's not what I want. It's not what I ask. It's not what I need. Okay. So for example, if you give me that scooter in my city, I wouldn't use it because it's way too dangerous. But I wouldn't use the bicycle because there is a lot of places to go down to do downhill. Okay. So there is a reason behind of what you need. So and this happened when you only talk to your, in this case, client once, and then you design and you present the product. And in class, that happens when you just follow the objectives in general. There is no interaction with the students, and you just follow the course book or the general objectives, and you don't adapt. There has to be feedback, not only about grades or performance, but also about what is working for them and if what you are doing is actually useful for them. Okay? So if they need a bicycle, then they receive a bicycle. Okay? So that is something that we have to consider. Now, finally, we finish with theory. Let's start here. First step, product backlog, your objectives. Where do you get your objectives from for your students? What do they need to learn? Yes, an answer. I'm going to wait until I get 5 answers at least. Where do you get the objectives, the learning objectives? Yes.
One thing I think is it's based on what their goals are, and then also looking at the level that they're at and what they need to learn in terms of grammar, vocabulary, things like that.
Okay, that is one answer. Now you have to know that Daniel is an entrepreneur, so he has a lot of experience personalizing content. I research. I stalk her. Yeah, stalk him. Sorry. So I checked your website, man. So he works in that, so he knows about that concept of personalizing. So that is one source. Where else do you get your objectives? Okay, it's going to depend on your student needs. Okay, it's when you have a lot of freedom. What happens if you work in a language center in a school, and it's a little bit more I don't want to use the word square, but more standardized. Okay, so where do you get those objectives? Not everybody personalized or the final outcome. Okay, from books. Okay, that is one. Course books and textbooks and all that. Now that is one. So we have 2 alternatives: people that work with course books and people that actually don't. When you do tutoring, you normally use different books and you get objectives from different places. So I'm going to give you some options. It's not necessary that you actually read that. So the first one is from KIPS, the British Council. You look for that and they give you exactly what they need to learn. The other one is the Global Scale of English. I think that is from Pearson, and it's very similar to the CEFR that is here from Cambridge, but it has more levels. So it actually tells you, okay, a student in A1, and they divided A1 in 10 levels, I think. In level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, what they need to know. Okay, so if you actually don't know where to start, you can use these guides and read the descriptions. Anglia Examinations, I think Anglia has a booth. Yes, they have a booth in the expo hall. If you check their website, it's very similar to Cambridge, but they have a lot of more information on details on what the student needs to know at different levels. Okay, so that is something that is super, super interesting. And then obviously we know Cambridge, the CEFR, A1, A2, and all the famous ones there. And you can check the description. So if you know your student is an A2 and you want to take it up a notch, then you can read what this student really needs to learn and then start designing from that. That is your starting point. And people mention, You have to get to the objectives. Now, what happens if you have a class and you have a course book? Use the scope and sequence. You don't have to reinvent many things. But the scope and sequence the books have been made by professionals, so they know a sequence that the students need to learn. But you can actually personalize it. I'm not saying that you just follow the book step by step, but the most important part for the book, in my opinion, is the scope and sequence. And then what you have in the units, they are just resources. Some of them will work, some of them you just don't need to use, and it depends on your student. So I'm going to give you an example on how to design a course, and we're going to start with the most difficult one, kids. A difficult one because thinking about online. This is for K1. Let's see if people, another question, how old are kids in UK? Ooh. For a free ticket to Revolution. No, you already have that. You're Googling. 5 or 6? Yeah, around that. Yeah, 5. There is. So you have the answers. Okay. Now, it's very funny because if you check what they have to learn, it's not that advanced. I don't know in your countries, but in Peru, they want kids to learn a lot of these concepts and more advanced concepts when they are in kindergarten. So, and they are 6 when they are in first grade of primary. So that's why kids get stressed. If you actually focus on something like this, you have time to go in cycles. And that is Agile. Agile goes like this. It's not like a stairway. It's actually in cycles, and you increment, and you increment, and you increment, and you increment. Now, this is something that we take, okay? So I have my backlog. These are my objectives at the end of the year or whatever. Now I have to decide how to actually use it. Normally, I don't use it in order, okay? And that is valid. Something that you need to know is like, I would learn for acquire. Okay, there you go. I like that. Yeah, kids acquire a lot of things. So, second step, we need to pick our learning unit. Where do we start? We have the whole thing. We have the product backlog. We take a little bit of it, and we start with our learning unit. So we pick this. Actually, we pick from the 3 terms. All about me, animals, and transportation. Okay. Now, it doesn't mean that they are going to acquire. I'm going to follow the piece of advice. All of this. Okay. So we take little bits of this, and that is our first sprint, our first iteration. And then in the second one, we are going to take those and expand them. Okay. So it's nothing is isolated. And if you check, and you know, language is, you cannot teach language isolated. So that's why it's very difficult, in my opinion, to follow a course book, even with kids or adults, because there are always questions like, and how do I say this? And if I want to do that, and because language is very difficult to isolate language. So we prefer to manage it in cycles, iterations. And here comes the crazy part. We have about me, we have animals, and we have transportation. The next step is to choose how to assess that. And we pick this, a treasure hunt. Okay, so we're going to talk about pirates, and we're going to have a treasure hunt. Probably your face is like this. Okay, I'm not that crazy. Okay, but okay. So it means that I'm going to use a treasure hunt, a game that kids like, to assess that they learn what I think and I know from the objectives they need to acquire. So we chose from term 1, describe myself to others. Basically, they have to learn the name, and they have to say how they are feeling, or how are you, all that. Okay. Identifying different toys and sharing them with friends. We talk about the sharing, but not necessarily all the toys. Identifying body parts, some of them, okay, we took with the easy ones, okay, like the eyes, nose, So we go for numbers too, because it's one nose, two eyes. From animals, we pick elephant, monkey, and tiger. And we did that because there is a nice song about that. And basically is that we use that. And we identify the sound and sight. Okay, good. We don't talk about the environments yet. We can mention the favorite. We include things like what is this, what is that, okay? And then in transportation, we only chose boat because we're talking about pirates. And they use a boat or a ship, okay? And then we add, remember, we have to include context, and then we have to include soft skills. And I always start with the example of kids because I love that about kindergarten teachers. Kindergarten teachers don't only teach about the content, but they have to teach other skills. Kids have to learn how to paint, how to grab the brush. They have to learn how to do the little paper balls. So they are not only focusing on the content, they are focusing on other skills. Now, when we grow older, our teachers tend to forget about that, but it's basically the same concept, but with other skills that are a little bit more advanced and sometimes more cognitive than motor skills, okay? So that is something that you have. Look at kindergarten teachers. I love kindergarten teachers because they still use that, okay? Now, so we know what we are going to do. We know that it's with pirates, and then we start designing. We have the objective. The final assessment was a treasure hunt, and I'm going to explain a little bit about that. We have a rubric. What are we going to assess? If they can describe the animal, if they can, and we include weather, if they can follow instructions, if they can understand weather, if they can react to the weather, and if they can actually, I think sometimes we include, depending on the level of the kids, if they are doing doing well, we include even fruits and vegetables. And what we do in the end of the class is that the last class of the sprint, that last 2 weeks, they play the treasure hunt completely in English. They go around, remember, I'm talking face-to-face first. They go around the classrooms, they find the different animals, their food, they react, the teacher, they dress up like pirates, and they make all the costumes, like the hat, they have a parrot, everything. So we include colors, instructions, everything. So everything is designed like that. And then we assess them with a game. They don't know that they are being assessed, okay? You can do the same with adults, but I like this example because it's more difficult, and you're going to see why. So this is what we start doing, okay? Class 1 is intro and materials. So, but materials were not an objective. I know they were not an objective, but if I actually don't teach them the materials, then the rest of my classes are going to be horrible, okay? So they need to know, and we have a nice activity and all that, so, and we have the introductions. We introduce a lot of songs with their kids. Weather and pirates, so we introduce the topic of pirates. They need to learn vocabulary of pirates, map, bottle, because we put the bottle, the map in the bottle. So everything has a context, and they start creating. And if you check every single class, they start creating something, and end in the treasure hunt. So what I'm doing in my class is preparing them to pass the assessment. That is what I'm doing. It's not that we don't tell them the assessment because they're kids, but we actually tell the parents what the assessment is. And when we work with adults, we tell them, okay, we are going to assess you with this. And that is exam? Yes. So they know they have an objective. It's very difficult to do something if you don't have an objective, okay? So then we go to colors, and it's not only that we teach colors, they start creating the parrot, they make parrots. I think if I find some here, because this is, and we create the animals, we create everything, the puppets, and they learn motor skills, they learn the vocabulary, they learn everything that they have to do while doing something. And then we continue with more classes. Our program, this is our regular program we had before the pandemic. We said, we don't teach English, we do art, science, theater, everything in English. And then, the pandemic. So, but we already have a really nice design. we have the objectives, we have the assessment, we know what skills we need from the students, we need what they need to do, we know how we want in our class, how we want to interact, how much time the teacher is going to talk, what the students are going to do. So, okay, pandemic, let's put it online. And this is what you have to do. That's why yesterday Jeff Kuhn was talking about a lot of not go first to technology, but first pedagogy. That well pronounced. Oh, sorry, I'm getting excited. Daniel is a former kindergarten teacher. Okay, good. I didn't know that. Okay, so this was our perfect world. We have the students there. We can do everything. We were superheroes, and somehow we got here, and now it's like, so you are superheroes still in the virtual world, but you just need to know which ones are useful for you, which tools, and which ones are not, and the same for your students. Don't stress out that much on tools. I'm going to give you a lot of tools, but don't stress that much. But we need to focus on teaching techniques more. Okay. So this is the new class. Yes, Dinah.
What time, more or less, you have 10 to 15 minutes until question time.
We're going to keep 1 hour. Don't worry, I'm organizing the conference. So, so we have this, and this is how we redesign. You're going to see, okay, we want the students to actually have contact with the teacher. Okay, so we included this. Okay, we're going to use Google Meet. Google Meet for what? For the class. So basically, we took the class out of the classroom, and we are having that lesson on Google Meet. Okay, very simple. But there are kids. Can they pay attention? Yes, they can pay attention if you actually become a TV show, like TV shows. Have you seen kids' TV shows? But they are strange things appear over here and there. Okay, so we included this software that is called Streamlabs. Okay, so if you want to look for that, it's called Streamlabs. I'm going to demonstrate that in a minute. Okay, so Streamlabs, what does Streamlabs do? Very simple. You are here. Have you seen the videos of kids? And things appear here, 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 and there, live. Okay, you can do that with the Streamlabs. Like you put everything on top of your face or something, not the background like Zoom. You can actually put things, you can put text. I'm going to demonstrate it in a minute. I don't want to lose connection because I have to switch something, okay? So, and then, okay, that is during the class, but there are a lot of things that we cannot do with them because they are not with us. Imagine motivating a 3 or 4-year-old through camera. What do we do? And they have to do some things before and after. So we included this. Is Mailchimp, okay? And well, you know YouTube. Why do we include Mailchimp? Because we are not going to put kids in a LMS, a Schoology, Google Classroom, or anything. They are not going to check it. And the parents are not going to check it either, okay? So in Mailchimp, has a free version. What it does is sends emails automatically. So we have our program, and instead of telling them what to do day to day, parents receive on their emails the information or the videos of the songs or things that the kids need to do before or after the class. And you don't have to do it like, I'm going to be sitting down in front of the computer every single day sending emails. No, because you do it once and it's automatic. And you can tell them if it is every other day, every 2 days, every 3 days, whatever. And your parents just receive it, okay? And then you use YouTube to have our videos, demonstration, videos for the parents, videos for the kids, videos in English for the kids, videos in Spanish for the parents. And we also, so they actually know what the kids are doing if they don't speak English, and they know the objectives. It was very nice. Parents were used to that, all that. We wanted to use Canvas. In some cases it worked. We use Canvas or other system for teachers, so they see the progress of the student and to share with the parents. Parents normally don't log in, but they want to see progress. You have it in one place. And we decided to use WhatsApp with parents because I mentioned collaboration. If you use another way to communicate with them, they wouldn't. I am not a fan of sharing personal information with the students or parents, but this was a small program, small groups. So it worked well. Okay. Now, but you can tell me, okay, my students don't have access to internet maybe, or their internet is pretty bad. So having a video call like that, it's impossible. I am not going to learn Streamlabs, and YouTube videos are going to be terrible. And let's put it more difficult. My students don't have internet. They don't have a laptop. The only access to internet that they have is a smartphone. Okay. So what did we do? Talking about collaboration. So far, so to slow down, I'm mentioning Mailchimp. That is for mailing. Well, you know YouTube. I mentioned Canvas. Canvas is like a learning management system where you put everything together. And this is what we did. We put, I forgot to mention, in order for this to work, what we did is we put all the materials in a box, actually a bag, and we send them to the students' home. So when I have my class, I open my bag and they have the same. So take out your brush and they have the same. Okay. So I'm collaborating, no problem. You're interacting. They are surprised that they have the same as you. Okay. And then what happens with people with no internet or computers? We modify it. And check this. I don't know if you're in your countries, but we're doing this for free. Okay. WhatsApp is free here. If you have a smartphone, you have WhatsApp free. You can get messages, voice messages, and videos if they are short videos. Okay. And then we're going to record all of our videos, reduce the quality so they are short and they can go on WhatsApp. Step number one. And we are going to send it to the parents. But we are going to have videos in Spanish and in English again for the parents in Spanish. And we also are going to use something very simple. Mailchimp, if they want to receive it in an email, and Word. You have a document, you put it on WhatsApp, they can receive it too because it's free. So they don't need to buy a computer. They don't need to have access to internet because they have a smartphone. So it's actually personalizing according to the needs of your student. And we follow the same structure. We have material before the class, we have the class on WhatsApp, then we have more material, then the class, and then we need to assess. In this case, we ask a lot of collaboration from parents, and they are happy to do it because they are seeing that we are helping their kids to learn English. Normally, they can't because of the situation. Okay, so as simple as that, you can pick very simple tools, and it depends on how you design. But something that you have to, and obviously something that we did, and this was the difficult part, is that we send them the materials too. We found some donations and they receive everything for free, all that, but that is because it's a specific of our program. Okay, you can do basically the same with kids, adults, with teenagers or anything, and except for the part of the material. No? Like for example, if you have a student that has a lot of resources and all that, you can include that. You don't need more. You can use others. I can give you more tools for assessment, for example. You can use Canvas, WhatsApp, and all that. So it's a combination, okay? It's a combination of things. And then this is for people with less internet, less bandwidth, okay? And what we do in small cycles between classes is this. So this is what we include in every lesson after or before or during the lesson, okay? We include free work. That is not homework, it's free work, something that they have to watch, they have to learn before the class, okay? Like flip learning, similar. We include one difference, the quiz, okay? Now that quiz is very special. You have groups because we have individual groups, individual grades, and group grades. So if actually groups and teams help each other, so everybody has a good assessment because it help all the group. So it's not only my grade, okay? Then we have the class, if you can have video calls or you can do it through WhatsApp in recorded videos. And then from there, you give assignments, something that they have to do, and then you assess and review if it's needed, some additional work. And you do it again and again and again and again until you get to the final spot on the sprint where you evaluate them. In this case, it was the treasure hunt. But by the end of those 8 lessons, 10 lessons, or whatever, the students are super prepared because they have been building up. All the class is designed to build up and build up and build up and have a final result, and they are familiar with that. So that is the idea of Agile. Agile is to have small little portions of a final product, building up, building up, building up. So preparing your students, and it's formative assessment. Now, if you like formative assessment, you cannot do formative assessment without technology. That is the sad part. Now, technology on your side, okay? Because if the students don't have, you can still work it. You get all the input, you put it in a system, and you get information. I give you an example. In the past, we never knew how much as a football or soccer player, wherever you live, you call it anyway, you never knew how many kilometers they run in a game. Now they put different things, GPS and all those kind of things, and you have a lot of information. Because of that information, you get feedback and you can improve things. It's the same. If you have results from your students, put it in a spreadsheet, put it in a learning management system, and analyze that. And there is software that helps the learning management system give you the progress. Are they doing well or not? If they are not doing well, you cannot move to the next sprint. That is one of the principles of Agile. You review and then you move on. It's not about covering material, okay? But I'm going to try to experiment with this because it has been working. I don't know why, but I'm going to show you while you start asking your questions. I'm going to try to show you Streamlabs because Streamlabs is super cool. Now, we normally use software that is not for education. For example, Mailchimp is not for education, it's for marketing. But it works for teachers really well, okay? And there is a free version. Then Streamlabs is not for education, it's for video gamers, okay? But it works super good to have in a class, okay? So let me see if I can actually do this. I'm here, I'm turning off my camera. Don't worry, I'll be back in 1 second. So I'm here, let's see. Okay, let's see. I'm going to leave for 1 second and then come back, but we're going to see. Okay, there you go. Can you see me? Okay, now it says Jota there. Now, let's see if this is going to work, because sometimes it doesn't work, okay, in this platform, but in Zoom, in Meet, and all that. So I'm going to try to do something like this. Did you see the change? Okay. Or if you want, I can do this. Or I can do this. I have an elephant, a tiger. I don't know if you actually see that. And you can do it with adults too. The benefit of doing this is that you don't have to share your screen. And they are still paying attention to you, and you can put icons and things like that. Now, the other thing that you can do with this thing is that you can actually have more than one camera. Let's see if this works. Wait, I'm going to activate the other camera. Sorry, it was off. There you go. So I have two cameras. Did you see that? Okay, so if you have two cameras, you can actually, I play around with that. And you can put both cameras in the same. So, for example, I can play it like this, make it big, make it small, make it super big, or whatever. So what I'm doing is actually playing with anything, okay? This is called Streamlabs. It's very useful. I wouldn't use it all the time, but I don't like talking, and you see my profile. So, and then I can switch cameras. The nice thing, if you have a friend that is a gamer, they can tell you everything about Streamlabs or other software, and they know, like, for example, okay, I'm going to show here difficult words, vocabulary, and all that. You can put it there, okay? But you can put it with the keyboard. You press 1, 2, 3. That is called hotkeys, okay? And we use this software for that. Now, don't overuse it because it can get confusing. But for kids, for example, it works well. To call students' attention, it works well. And you have to know how to use these kind of tools if needed. So as I show you in the slides, it depends on the profile of your student, the technology that they have, and you can adapt. If you already have a course, it's a matter of just changing a little bit, because you have to get the concept of you cannot do everything during your session, during the lesson. You have to take a lot of the things out of there and put it before or after your class. But it has to be something that is challenging, entertaining, and meaningful. And obviously, you have to know how to assess. So if you work with course books, what you can do is get to the end of the unit. Normally, they have like projects, adapt that, and start from there. So you start at the end of the unit to know what they are supposed to learn at that, and then start discarding things that are not going to be useful from the course book and add your material, and put it in a format that they are going to be, it's going to be accessible. I gave you the most simple ones, okay? And all of the tools that I gave you are free. There are more, there are a lot. People like Zoom because of the breakout rooms. Did you know that there is an add-on to do breakout rooms in Google Meet? And in my opinion, is 100% better than Zoom. The breakout rooms in Meet are more useful than in Zoom because you don't have to get in and out. I can give you that if you're using Meet. Breakout rooms. You can start asking me questions. No questions. Everybody's confused.
I have
Daniel has a question.
Okay.
So that was really great the way that you showed what you used with developing online classes for kids. Are there particular websites or particular resources that you can recommend that had like that guide of what they should learn for each level?
Like the level of like the objectives of English?
Yes. Like you showed the page and it was like food, transportation, animals, self. Is there a way
for kids? I use a lot I like the material of the British Council. I really like that. I use that, and I use as a reference also the Anglia website because I like that a lot. Okay.
I'm sorry.
Can you see me?
Right.
Can you see me? Or
yes.
No? Okay.
Yes.
Because it went blank. It was Anglia and British Council. They have a booth right now. If you go to the expo hall, Anglia has a booth. I don't know if they are still there, and they have exams for kids. Cambridge has exams for kids too, but I like a little bit better how Anglia sets the objectives, so it's easier to understand and to use it in your class. So that is my starting point all the time. If you have that clear, you can do marvelous things. And picking tools is easy if you actually know what you want to do with your students. You want them to collaborate alone with you, interact. You want to catch their attention during the video call. You want them to share a screen. You want them just to, this is going to be, you want to assess them, but you want to make sure. I want to share this. Okay, let's share this. You want to, this is for adults, so this is the time for where is it? For sharing tools. And you can tell me if this is useful for you or not. This is called exam.net. Okay, so, and it's very useful for tests. Microsoft Teams. Okay, I'm going to talk about Microsoft Teams in a minute. So exam.net is free. I'm telling you about free resources, okay? Now, Exam.net is a lockdown browser. If you check for lockdown browsers, they are super expensive. This is free. So if you actually use this, you send, you create exams there, you send a link to your students, and then when they start taking the test, they cannot go out of that web. So if they try to open other website, they are blocked, you receive a notification, or you can actually add, configure it to have a 0. So it's very interesting. So let's see if this is going to work. A lot of. So what you do is you create exams for the business writing or things like that, and then they have a code. Okay, you can actually edit the exam. You can put right exam questions. You can edit. You can put questions, all that. I just do this. Okay. So you can have the information, writing, audio files, everything. And then this is the security. Allow any browser, require explanation if they go to another website. So it's very interesting how it works, and it's free. So if your school is asking you to assess with a standardized test, multiple choice question, and then you're using Google Forms, and you don't know if they're actually copying, then this is a good alternative. Now, students can cheat anyway. If they have a smartphone, they can cheat. Okay, so that's why we tend to use other kind of activities for assessment. We include these kind of tests because we can see if they are learning the grammar, but we focus on activities that are more to apply the grammar of the or the vocabulary. Like with kids, we mentioned the treasure hunt. With adults, basic adults, personal information, exchanging business cards. So it's very focused on business. Kids going to a party, going to an exchange program. We cannot do that anymore. Okay, so things like that. And then they actually bring out a context, and you assess them with a rubric. How do you do that online? Include some of your sessions, your classes and video calls. They don't need to be classes all the time. Like some of your classes are to actually help them learn and do some activities that are new. Some of your classes can be for assessment. If you have too many students, then you have to dedicate some time, small chunks of that class to assess a group of students, and simple as that. So we have to find a solution. Online classes doesn't need to be covering material every single lesson. Okay, you have to have this combination of assessment, teaching, pre-work. Okay, that little circle that I show. Okay, I'm talking too much. There should be a question, huh? Or are we done? We're done, right?
Almost. No, 45. Not
1
yet.
minute.
There's one question that says, can you repeat the source you like about objectives, please?
Okay. Okay, source about objectives. Do you have a document with the links? Of course, I'm going to share it with you. How many registered students can you have on ExamNet? I haven't seen a limit. Okay, and I haven't seen any limits with the exams either. I have been using it without any problem, honestly. And then I'm going to share one more time then where I get but that slide I think is not clear enough. But still, I'm going to show it, then give you, where is it? Okay. So, okay. So these are my sources to get the objective, okay? So I can put it here. Global scale of English. I'm going to start typing those. So global scale of English. I think this is from Pearson. It's free. You can download it. They have for business, adults, kids, and all that. And there is one. Then is British Council. This is for kids. I like this for kids. British Council. And then you have the famous Cambridge. You can Google them and look for the Cambridge CEFR. Okay. Now, the CEFR has some disadvantages because the levels are too broad. But that's why I prefer the global scale of English or the Anglia exams, Anglia examinations. And you can visit the booth of Anglia examinations. They are here. Okay, they have in their website, you can find the the objectives level by level, by age. It's very interesting how they work. Okay, and what was the other question we to run? Do you have to do with the links? Okay, so what I'm going to do, because as I said before, I edit a lot of things normally. I'm going to share it, but I'm going to edit it a little bit. So wait until tonight. You give me 2 hours. I'm going to actually add more things. And you can actually download the whole presentation. Okay, there. And if you really want to know something about what I do or Change does, there is a lot more. If you want to learn these tools and how to play with them, we have a lot. Just write me an email and we can talk about that. I think it's time to, I don't know, what is next?
3 minutes. You have 3 minutes.
Yes. Okay. Okay. So that is my email. If it is too small, I can put it there, or you can click on my name. Okay. So, but I don't know if there were actually how many reasons can you have to examine it? Important question. Let's figure it out now. I think there was not.
How many registered students can you have on an exam.net?
As far as I know, is very open up until the end of the year, because this is a Swedish company. They did it for 1 year in Sweden and they open it for all the world. And right now they say that everything is open until they decide not to. But right now, yeah, there are no limits. Exam.net is free of charge for schools outside of Sweden, blah, blah, blah. We will never automatically move your school or a group of schools to private, so there is no limit. Whatever you want, you can do whatever you want here. Okay, and that is, it's a really, really, really nice tool. I have used it, especially for standardized tests. Is there another question? Angia, I'm going to pin this. Thanks a lot, great ideas.
Yeah, everybody's very happy. Thank you. Great ideas.
Lorenzo said it's free. Everything is free, they say. Everything that I show. And something that I didn't mention. I use Microsoft Teams, but it's more complicated. With Microsoft, you can use these things that I'm using, the Streamlabs, with anything. You can use it with Teams, Zoom, whatever. Okay, this is what is called a third-party software. So it doesn't matter. The problem with Microsoft Teams, and if you're having issues with Microsoft Teams, this is something that you should be aware of. It's not only about bandwidth, it's also about your computer. Microsoft Teams needs more RAM, memoria RAM, from your computer than any other software. So if it gets slow, it's not always because of internet. It could be because you're using too many things at the same time and you don't have enough RAM in your computer, which is a great disadvantage for teachers because we don't have fancy gamer computers. Okay. Okay. I think
your presentation has been pretty much very clear. And now it's 60 minutes.
Okay, yeah, we have to go to, well, you have 10 minutes for the break. If you want to learn more about us, you can go to our booth. If we are not there, watch the video, and in the booth, click request information or request and all that, and we can follow up later, and you can check what we do, the crazy stuff. We always have workshops. So, yeah, thank you for being here. We were close to 100 people watching. I feel famous. Okay, so the keynote is at 4:30, so in 8 minutes. So we have to get going. Sorry I took so long, but it happens. Yeah, Didi is putting the website, the Facebook. There you go, Didi. Okay, so Take care. Thank you very much. We still have a keynote, so enjoy. This conference is super good, in my opinion. I hope you have the same opinion. Take care.
Okay, thank you, Jota. Thank you for this very helpful session.